She just had this effortless vibe, the way she danced, the way she moved. She just had that charisma.
Gotta keep up with me mentally. I finesse it just so gently. Gotta keep up with me mentally.
What's good, GBO crew? It is your girl back with another video. And now, as you can see by today's title, I know you guys are excited. I know I am too. I will be reviewing Aaliyah's self-titled album, Aaliyah. But before we get into this video, I need you to click the links in my description box, and also please do not forget to hit that subscribe button as well. So give you a little minute to let you do your thing. Alright, and just like that, you are the newest member of GBO crew. We are so happy to have you here. With no further ado, let's just get right into the video. Now, you guys, this one right here was really a no-brainer. I know most of these tracks we know, we kind of grew up with them. We started off in 2000, now we're here in 2001. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. The blueprint for so many young artists, myself included. She just had this effortless vibe, the way she danced, the way she moved. She just had that charisma. When I do these reviews, I'm actually getting in the habit of looking up facts about the albums as I go along. But I'm not going to waste any more time, okay? The first track is We Need a Resolution featuring Timbaland. Aaliyah, the self-titled album. Let's get a little bit of background on this album right here, okay? Aaliyah is the third and final studio album by American R&B singer Aaliyah. It was released on July 7th, 2001 by Blackground Records and Virgin Records. Because of its packaging design, it is also known as the Red Album. This album was recorded from 1998 to March 2001. And one of the reasons why I want to review this album is the 2000s, like I mentioned in the Toni Braxton review. It's a special era of music. It is the era of music where, as an artist myself, I draw a lot of inspiration from. Obviously, I told you guys before, I was born in 98, so I'm very familiar mostly with music from the 90s and the 2000s. I feel like it's an era where you can draw, like, just so much from, whether it be in just the writing style, whether it be in the production style. And one of the main things about 2000s, I feel like, production was progressing, like especially for R&B singers, especially for female R&B. So I wanted to kind of give you guys a good balance of male and female R&B albums that I feel really defined an era of music and really inspired a lot of artists, inspired the tone of music moving forward. And I feel like this album is one of them. Just in general, Aaliyah is one of those artists that you guys already know. So many female artists especially have talked about how much she has inspired them. When you're talking about the genre this album kind of contains, it's R&B, neo-soul, pop, and dance pop. Aaliyah is described in critical commentaries as an album of R&B, neo-soul, and dance pop, while drawing on an array of other genres such as funk, hip-hop, alternative rock, electronica, and Latin music. But Timbaland and Aaliyah obviously are one of those duos that you all know. If you're into music, that's a duo that you're familiar with. I feel like one of the greatest things that Timbaland has ever done is obviously the way he contributed to Aaliyah's career. And really, in a way, I feel like this body of work and all the work he did with Aaliyah kind of solidified him in some way in the industry as one of those really great producers. But the thing about Aaliyah that I do want to touch on really quick, and I already feel like I'm talking too much, but Aaliyah is one of those artists where what she had can't be replicated. Maybe see bits and pieces in certain artists, but she just had it. And I feel like sometimes when you put the pressure by comparing young female artists, you know, to Aaliyah, it really becomes a burden because sometimes it's not something you ask for. You know, you come into the industry as a young artist, you just want to be, you know, yourself. Because trying to recreate what Aaliyah did, you know, and just that essence that she carried with her, you can't do. I'm not gonna say it's hard to do, you just can't do it. You know, but we see obviously the inspiration she has had on, you know, my generation of artists and generations before that. We see her in it, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not something that they're trying to, you know, recreate it in a way, but doing it in their own way. You can draw inspiration from somebody without it being a caricature or a mockery. And I know personally, I think Aaliyah's fan base is still very much like intact. She has a very strong fan base to this day, and I feel like they've kind of been through the ringer, you know, obviously trying to get her music on streaming platforms. And I feel like in a way she's held in such a high regard that it can be almost intimidating to touch anything that is like Aaliyah inspired or Aaliyah-esque, because when you do anything similar to something she would have done, you know, it's going to be looked at with a microscope. So our next track is Loose Rap featuring Static Major. One of the things about Aaliyah that was just so enchanting really was just her really laid back and chill persona, and I feel like that is something that she even reflected in her vocals as well. But one thing I do want to point out is that I feel as though The older Aaliyah got, her voice got better, she got more confident, but I feel like when you would hear her sing ballads, that's where her vocals really got to shine. And I actually cannot remember what song I heard her singing, but I believe it was at an award show of some sort. Maybe the year, maybe 2000, 2001, I think. She was singing a ballad and she sounded so good, and I just would have loved to kind of really hear her progress more and more and hear her do more ballads, because it just really showed how good of a vocalist she was becoming. The next track we have, okay, Rock the Boat. It's timeless, it's iconic, and actually, you guys, what I've realized, this technically could be considered a reaction, because I think this is my first time ever listening to this entire album from top to bottom. I believe so. I don't think I ever have before. But just to give you guys some more context on this album and just all the production and things like that, everything I'm reading to you guys is on Wikipedia. If you want to cite, read it for yourself. While much of the lyrics were written by singer-songwriter Static Major, who shared a close friendship and strong rapport with Aaliyah, the resulting songs deal with the complexities of romantic love and different stages in a relationship, such as infatuation, eroticism, conflict, infidelity, and heartbreak. Aaliyah viewed the album as a reflection of herself as both a young adult and a matured vocalist. To give you guys some numbers, okay, on release, Aaliyah received highly positive reviews and charted at number 2 on the Billboard US 200. And when Black, Brown, and Virgin wanted a high charting single to increase the album's sales, the sales diminished a little bit after the initial release. They wanted to increase the sales bit, so they released Rock the Boat, obviously with the music video, and obviously what a great decision. But nonetheless, I want to go back to where it talked about kind of the lyrical context of the album, because you guys know we love a pen that pens. I love how Aaliyah said she viewed this album as kind of just her really coming into her own as a young woman. When it comes to R&B music in general, the topic of love and everything that can happen in a relationship is a really big component. It is the go-to to talk about. I feel like when you think of R&B music, you probably think of love songs, you probably think of ballads, and Rock the Boat is obviously more on the more sensual and sexy side. What did Miss Aaliyah know about rocking the boat? Okay? Stroke the middle. You know, it's funny because at the time, you know, because I was really young when this song came out, you know, I didn't realize, you know, how sexy it was giving. I think, you know, to us, you know, if you were pretty young, if you were on the same age as me, we're just like, oh, like, this is a bop. That's all we knew at that age. You know what I'm saying? We knew, like, Aaliyah dropped the bop, and that's really all it is. We wasn't looking too deep into the context, too deep into the lyrics, but now, you know, we older, we grown now. It's kind of like, oh, Aaliyah was deep into her grown woman bag, and we were here for it. Okay. The next track we have is another classic, More Than a Woman. That guitar and the production, the lyrics, it's grown woman sexy, and that was the vibe, obviously, that Aaliyah was going for. I feel like also this album as well, you know, as she said, she was talking about, it was really about her transitioning to the young adult life and becoming a woman. I feel like Aaliyah is one of those women that she just had natural sex appeal as she continued to get older. And sex appeal is one of those things that either you have or you don't. When I hear this song, automatically I think about the video, I think about the choreo. When you think about Aaliyah, she was just a complete artist in terms of just her look, her sound, and her style, her makeup. And oh my goodness, just thinking about everything that she would have done in the years to come, she was really moving into that fashion icon. Like, actually, one of the things I think I would have loved to see from Aaliyah as she continued to develop as an artist, I would have loved to hear her do more as a songwriter, because this album was primarily written by other people, not a lot of input from her, which was not uncommon, I guess, back in the day, and really even before that. But the next track we have is Never No More. Now, this song right here in particular, I remember when my best friend, when this album came out on streaming platform, she was listening to it and she was describing to me, you know, a song in the album where basically Aaliyah described that she was it was an abusive relationship. And what is crazy to me is that I rarely hear people ever talk about the lyrical context of the song, and I think back in the day, obviously, it was something that people probably glossed over, probably didn't think twice about. But to know that a song like this was in Aaliyah's discography, and it's something that I rarely ever hear discourse about, it's very alarming to me. And I feel like the way people glossed over the context of the song is the same way that women that are in those same relationships, this is how they must feel when all the signs that they are going through something, obviously, that they shouldn't be, that something out of line is happening in their home, and no one even bats an eyelash at it. And something about the song is very, like, it's very unsettling in a way. Obviously, vocally, you know, you can hear the passion in her words, and even though she's not listed as a songwriter, she's not credited anyway, it's written by 2 other people, I really do feel like this is one of those tracks she must have had some input in, because this is a very personal experience to write about. Well, this is actually the second time, I believe, where I've heard a woman actually bravely talk about her experience, being in an abusive relationship. You guys remember a while back when I did a video on Jasmine Sullivan, she has a song on her debut album where she describes an abusive relationship that she was in for a while. I think it's something to be said about the fact that Aaliyah was going through that, in the midst of her career, and knowing that this was happening behind closed doors. It's just like, did anyone ever try to maybe, intervene, really checking on her? And I don't know, it's just really one of those songs in a sense that I absolutely love how personal it is, and I admire her bravery to speak about something, especially at a time like this where nobody probably would have thought twice about it. And to hear it years later, especially in the era that we are now, where women are more forthcoming, about whatever they're going through, their struggles, especially when it comes to domestic violence in any way. There's even more of a no tolerance for it now. If Aaliyah would have released Never No More, like in 2019 all the way up until now, even 2018 really, there would have been a lot of conversations. And to hear her kind of bear herself in this way in her music, I don't know. It's kind of hard to listen to. She talks about knowing that she needed to walk away from the relationship, and kind of that mental, just anguish I feel like women in that situation must go through. Fortunately I've never had to experience that, but you hear a lot, but it's like the manipulation and just the back and forth you go through, like it's a lot. Nonetheless, one of those records where lyrically, man, it's a lot to unpack there. The next track we have is I Care For You. Now this track right here, guys, I really love it vocally because it's one of those songs where you really get to hear Aaliyah experiment with her vocals, doing some vocal acrobatics and just kind of showing off a little bit. And actually going back to the regarding like the album sales. So after Aaliyah's death, the sales of the album did greatly increase and led to the top of the Billboard 200, eventually reaching more than 13 million copies sold worldwide. Released during a period of bleak activity in R&B, the album has since been cited by critics as one of the genre's best and most influential records from the era. And I find it crazy that, well, not actually, because it's no secret that most of the time when a celebrity, an artist, or whatever passes away, their work kind of does skyrocket away, whether it be in terms of streaming or in sales. So it actually just leads me to wonder, since like all the critical acclaim seemed to come primarily after her passing, I guess I wonder what was the major thing of why the sales for this album started to diminish. I can't really remember what else was kind of going on at that time. I know she was, doing a lot of filming, but it really does sadden me to think that a lot of the acclaim and all the sales and, all those things kind of came after her passing. I wish she would have been alive to see the success that this album has had and the impact it has had on music in general. The next track we have is Extra Smooth. Now this song in particular is a great example. Like earlier when I talked about some of the genres that the album pulls from, this song kind of has that electronic, like pop feel too, but still keeping it kind of urban in a sense. So it's a really good balance of all those sounds. This is one of those tracks where it probably takes a second listen because the production in a way is almost so complex, like the way it almost switches, like right before the chorus comes in or like before the verses, you're almost thinking like, oh, this is not where I thought the song was going to go. In fact, I kind of do like when songs, when they start off a certain way, and they go in a completely different direction, kind of switching the vibe a little bit. Next track we have is Read Between the Lines. Now this song right here is kind of like going back to the roots, like more in terms like production wise, like when the album first started off. Like this is one of those songs I can tell like Aaliyah was deep in her bag. Like I love the vibe of it, super fun. One of the songs where like you can kind of hear that staple 2000 sounds really coming out and really defining itself. And of course you can hear Static Major doing a bit of the background vocals as well. Next track we have is You Got Nerve. Now this is one track that if I were listening through this album again, it would be one of those tracks I would skip. I do prefer the verses here as opposed to the chorus. The melody in the chorus and kind of like vocally, I definitely hear Static Major and Aaliyah singing together, but I think either Aaliyah should have sang the chorus by herself or maybe just Static and some other background singers could have sang it, but I really think the melody is what is affecting me really enjoying the song, particularly when it comes to the chorus. The next track we have is I Refuse. Now this song right here did not quite go into the ballady type of direction that I thought it was going to based on the way it started. And I do feel like the melody eventually did find its groove, getting past that first verse a bit. But I actually do wish that this song was actually slowed down a little bit more, and I really feel like it could have been one of those tracks where it could have been like just Aaliyah and that piano again, and like we just slow it down a little bit because she sounded so good. And also I think this is one of those tracks where you can kind of hear that little bit of alternative rock with like the electric guitar in the background and the production. The next track we have is It's Whatever. I think I have a new favorite added to the Aaliyah repertoire, okay? Ironically enough, Aaliyah gave me what I wanted in this track that I initially thought I Refuse was going to sound like, so it's kind of funny how that worked out. I really like the track. I love the production. Once again, one of those songs where I can tell she was in her bag, like this is her. It just fit her so well. Kind of that crush feeling, you know what I'm saying? The butterflies that she describes, you know, just kind of the vibe it is when she's with the person that she loves. Next track we have is I Can Be. Now this track right here, we're getting some more of that alternative rock sound with like the electric guitar in the background. And as much as I love the guitar, I love how funky it is, I almost feel like it is overpowering Aaliyah here, like in terms of just vocally. Like I can't really focus. I am so conflicted because I love the guitar, but I also really want to hear Aaliyah and I really want to focus on the lyrics. So it's one of those things I think it should have been a little bit more of a balance. Next track we have is Those Were the Days. Now you guys, I really like this track right here. I love the hook. I love that chorus. And just kind of going back to Static Major and how he really did a lot of work on this album. The strong rapport that he had with Aaliyah really showcased itself in a lot of these tracks. You can just feel like they just mesh so well. Their styles just fit each other. And I love when you can kind of hear the chemistry that artists have in the studio kind of come out when you listen to an album. I think that's so dope. Next track we have is What If. Like the same way I feel about this track in terms of like the guitar and balancing with Aaliyah's like kind of softer vocals, like I think it was I Can Be, where I said like I wish there was a better balance. But I actually believe this can be more so down to the mixing, because like I said, I do love all the elements of guitar, but I think for this track, since there was even more heavy emphasis on the guitar especially, it's a good thing though because the chorus is fairly simple. There's not, you know, too much happening lyrically where like you can't focus. There was a little bit more of a balance, you know, making sure when it got to the chorus and the guitar picks up some more, you can really hear Aaliyah what's being said. But the last track we have is another classic. We have Try Again. That was Aaliyah. So let's get right into my final thoughts. Now, once again, you guys already know these reviews during this time of the month, we're just here to have a good time and here to vibe out. But just to keep along with the theme, I still do go through the categories. And I know I mentioned to you guys earlier about after the initial release of this album, the sales started to dwindle and then they picked back up, obviously after the release of Rock the Boat. But I think possibly one of the reasons why this album, like in terms of sales, started to dwindle a little bit, this album was very experimental in a way, and it was kind of like a stepping stone in terms of like really combining genres. This album is an hour long, and if I seemed like I was answering any points because my back was starting to hurt, child, okay, I know. But it's been a while since I had to sit in the chair for over my hour and like kind of sit and absorb everything. But I really think the fact that this album was such a big conglomerate of so many different genres and we're combining them, it could have been the fact that people weren't used to like hearing that quite yet. Like I said, we are literally in 2001. Like we were just in 2020 Braxton. Now we're here with Aaliyah, who's, you know, obviously a major focal point when it comes to the 2000s and, you know, the late 90s. So I think that 2000 sound was still rounding itself out and still getting its roots, you know, like in the music industry, and obviously what we know now as more artists from today are pulling from this era. I think the fact that this album kind of was setting the foundation for that 2000 sound, a lot of people may not have known how to perceive it. I think that's possibly one of the reasons why the sales started to dwindle. It is possible maybe people thought it wasn't cohesive. That's probably actually one of the critiques maybe I would have, is that because of the different genres and how, you know, the placement of the tracks were, maybe it felt like, you know, it's all over the place and maybe it's doing too much. But I guess even with that little bit of critique about cohesiveness, and I honestly, you guys, I get so scared to like critique anything Aaliyah because I know how much we value her and things like that. But I feel like just in terms of like, you know, like I do with all other artists in general, it's okay to have those conversations. You know, I know this is an artist that we all value and that we all love. But like aside from the cohesiveness factor, I do appreciate the fact that this album kind of took that risk and was able to combine all these genres and kind of give us the building blocks moving forward for other artists. So Aaliyah was one of those artists, along with Timbaland, Static Major, Missy, you know, during this era, you know, and working on this project. So in that sense, I'm kind of grateful that there isn't a lot of cohesion, because it showed like, hey, you can combine these styles with that R&B urban sound and we can still, you know, get this fusion and get this fresh sound and vibe. So I kind of like how the album did that. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. I feel like that was a lot, but I think you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. So let's jump into our categories. Vocally, I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. And this was the last body work by Aaliyah, and you can really start to hear her vocals improving, things like that. Also, the harmonies are so pretty. A little bit of the vocal production. Her and Static just have such great chemistry, and it showed. Production, we are going to give that a 9 out of 10, really based on the fact for like the experimental factor and how it just pulled from so many different genres. I feel like that was a challenge to do, but they did it well. Like I said, there were at times where I feel like it could be down to the mixing, but I just think balancing out those heavy electric guitar sounds with Aaliyah's like more softer vocals, I wish that would have been done better so you can really get the full effect. And in terms of lyrics, we can give that an 8.5 out of 10. One of those albums where it really is a good depiction of kind of like when you're coming into your own as a young woman, going through all the emotions, your relationships, your friendship, things are changing. I know Aaliyah isn't credited on any of these songs, but I really do feel like, I don't know, I find it hard to believe that Aaliyah didn't write at all on this album. You know, a song like Never No More, you cannot convince me that she did not have a big hand in that, because that is a very personal experience to talk about. With that being said, I'm going to give Aaliyah an 8.5 out of 10. Please let me know in the comments, what is your favorite track from Aaliyah? I think I gotta go with Rock the Boat. It's a classic. I just wanted to take a moment to give Aaliyah her flowers, and just the fact that, you know, so many of her fans are able to have her music on streaming platforms now. And I feel like this is one of those albums from the 2000s era that really defined that 2000s sound, and I want to take the time to kind of highlight that as we move forward. Hope you guys are enjoying this series so far. Be sure to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe. Whatever you do not forget to click that bell so that you get notified every single time that I post. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time with another video.